Hi guys, this is Matt here and I welcome you all to my YouTube channel which is called Matt Vlogs. Why am I here today? Because I have got a great guest for my show today. His name is Mr. Jawad Majid Khan. He is an executive director of Silkbank and he's running Al Nasr Foundation as well, which he's the chairman for. Our topic is really important today for Pakistan and all the audience and the people around in Pakistan to understand why we are today to discuss about FATF impact on Pakistan's economy. So let us welcome our guest for today's evening and learn and share and understand what the FATF have to do in our lives, in daily lives of Pakistan and the people, and what we see FATF's impact for the economy, because in a few days we will be getting to hear some good news or the news which we are expecting, not sure about. So let us welcome Mr. Jawad Majid Khan Saab. Kaise hain? Assalamu alaikum. Good evening to you.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure and honor to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
It's more than you. I think it's my honor to have a great personality and a human being like you to be a guest of mine on a very important topic where we can educate our Pakistani people that what is FATF is all about. So please go ahead and give a little bit introduction about yourself so the audience can connect with you, and then we'll take this session forward to learn from you about FATF's impact on Pakistan's economy.
Okay, thank you. So as you briefly mentioned, I'm a banker by profession. Right now, I'm executive director with Silkbank, heading their Islamic banking. I've put in about 23, 24 years in banking, one of the pioneers of Islamic banking in Pakistan and in this region. Simultaneously, I am into philanthropy also in this sector for the last 24 years and heading Al Nasr Foundation, which is a community-based organization. Basically, we are into education, free education for boys and girls, starting from primary, and we go up to the post-graduation level. Then we are into clean drinking water. Then we are into basic health and basic agriculture interventions. So catering to over 400,000 people in the northern areas of Pakistan. And Allah is, this is basically Allah Ta'ala's blessing. And I personally think that is the main cause and motivation that, everything is revolving around that. Simultaneously, I had my, basic education. I'm an economist for education from Qaid-e-Azam University. Then I'm on the alumnus of LUMS, National Defense University, and Harvard Business School.
Wow, that's amazing. Very great journey of yours.
Yeah.
Okay.
In a humble manner, Allah has been very kind.
May Allah keep blessing you with all the success and the happiness in your life and in your family's life for sure. I make a special dua for that.
Thank you.
My first question to you, sir, is that what is FATF's impact on Pakistan economy, and where do you see Pakistan standing in international world in getting out of this gray list? What do you have to say about this?
Okay. So before, exactly coming to this point, I will just like to give you a brief of what FATF is, what FATF's relationship to Pakistan is, what does this gray list or black list or a green list, mean. So FATF was established in 1989.
Okay.
As the name is, the Financial Action Task Force. It basically has 37 members, and all these countries are the financial hubs of the globe. And the biggest economies, the 37 biggest economies. Okay, so as such, it does not have a proper status like the UN or the IMF or any other bilateral or unilateral or international organization, but it has its own significance, and it is more or less its mandate is to have a check on anti-money laundering and terrorist financing.
Okay.
I think something happened in between. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Please go ahead. Please, it's okay. Completely okay.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. Yeah, please go ahead.
I think there's some communication problem.
It's totally fine. I can hear you, sir. You can continue.
Wait.
Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you, sir. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now. I
Yeah,
think
please.
something wrong with my
Yeah,
Bluetooth. So if
yeah.
I'm loud and clear, can I continue without using these?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Please go ahead. Everything is okay. No problem.
No, I think I broke up when. So FATF is not like the World Bank, but it has its own significance because the 37 biggest economies of the world, they are the key members.
Mhm.
They put restrictions or they
I see.
put some country in a black or a gray list. So it has
Mhm.
its own consequences for that
Mhm.
country's economy, for the bilateral trade, and trade with all these countries.
I see.
So Pakistan is not a member state, but Pakistan has always had a special relationship with FATF, and it
Mhm.
has two main reasons. One is, I would say, the technical side of this. Other is the political side of this.
I see.
So back in 2012, Pakistan was put in the grey list, and then in 2015, it came out of it. But
I see.
certainly in 2018 again, we were put into this grey list again.
I see.
So, it has some background. If you want, I can get into the details also.
Mhm. So, where do you see, and as we have been seeing in the parliament, that the government and the opposition have sat down to overturn the laws or implement the laws related to FATF and all. So, total, how many laws do you think has been implemented, and some which are being left to be implemented? So, how do you think that the way forward for that is internationally to make Pakistan out of this list and be on a brighter side in terms of getting away from the money laundering and all the other aspects of it?
Before coming to this, I will tell you briefly that this being very unbiased and not, you would say, pro-Pakistani stance that I would take.
Hmm.
Pakistan, to the core of this organization, it is anti-money laundering and terrorist financing.
I see.
We, Pakistan, have been a country, and the people of Pakistan have been subjugated to this subject for the last so many decades.
I see.
It has a history. Okay, so
Hmm.
somehow I will go back to the late 1970s when the Russian armies invaded Afghanistan,
Hmm.
and US and the entire Europe was supporting Pakistan to fight the war against the Soviet Union, then the Soviet Union, uh, helping these mujahideens and doing a jihad.
Uh-huh.
At that time, they were not only giving us moral support, they were giving us military support, and they were also giving us financial
Financial,
support.
financial support.
We basically fought that war through our while remaining within our borders. But
Mm.
all the mujahideens and whatever happened in Afghanistan, I don't want to get into that.
Sure.
So suddenly, after the breakup of Russia,
Hmm.
U.S. West, just pulled away from this region. It pulled away from Afghanistan without understanding and realizing that this is a Frankenstein that they have created. And those jihadi groups, those are people who are now in power struggle to fight and to get into Kabul and get the Afghanistan government.
Hmm.
So somehow they are still remaining here. So
Hmm.
Pakistan as a nation, as a country, we had to deal with that, and we are still dealing with that.
Hmm.
And then after the post 9/11 scenario, there was again a new world order. And suddenly all those jihadis and the global jihadi heroes, they became the Taliban and the terrorists.
Uh-huh.
So when US came into Afghanistan, again, there was, not only the military side of it, there was a social side of that also. So we
Okay.
again, as the frontline state, had to suffer and we are still suffering.
I see.
And no nation in this world, other than Pakistan, has given a greater sacrifice than we have. Over 80,000 Pakistanis have, been martyred. They include children, women. So, what about our armed forces? What about the financial side of it? The loss to the Pakistan economy is over 100 billion US dollars.
Mhm.
So, for us to treat us on certainly on what the international standard of FATF are, it is absolutely unfair. And simultaneously, you expect that something which was happening for the last 35, 40 years, you can't change it overnight. We have
True.
tried our level best for the last 4 or 5 years. You must have heard about Darbe Azab and major sacrifices that we do. We cleaned up our western borders from the
Mhm.
TTP and Al Qaeda and everything.
Mhm.
And still, we are trying to do whatever we can. So while we were, fighting against the decades-old war from these Frankensteins, which were created by this,
Mhm.
the West was part and parcel of that. You are
Mhm.
subjugating us to further, sanctions and putting us in grey list of better. Why?
Mhm.
This is unfair. So while we were doing all this, we are still saying, okay, as a nation, as a country, we are still, we are ready to do that, and we are ready for this cleanup. Rather,
Okay.
the approach would have been that they should have made us a full-fledged member of FATF. We are the 42nd largest economy of the world, over
Mhm.
220 million people.
Okay.
So the world is different now, my friend. So it is all about economics and economy and interdependence. So I personally think there is a specific agenda and there is a global pressure of India,
Mhm.
uh, and India being one of the largest economies and have interrelated interests with US and the European countries, especially
Mhm.
France, which is the headquarter of FATF. So they have
Mhm.
been trying level best to marginalize Pakistan and put us against the wall. So that is
Okay.
the side of that. So again, while they put us in the grey list in 2018 and they gave us a 27-point agenda, and they said, okay, you need to follow all this. They
Mhm.
have preliminaries, I would say. They have their meetings for this Asian Pacific group. One is in February, the other one is in June, and the third one is in October.
Mhm.
So, since they put us these preconditions that you need to fulfill these 27 conditions, even last year, we've been really progressing in that. We took it in a positive manner rather than saying that this is unjust. You've been unfair to this country, which has been a front state to fight against terror, international terrorism, and money laundering. Okay, no problems. We still try to comply, and we've done a great. There have been a lot of accomplishments. Last year, out of those 27, we were compliant on partially or fully compliant on 18. Today, as we speak, we are compliant on 21 points out of those 27, which they
I see.
put. So those in the last 1 year they've been discussing and they've been trying that Pakistan should be doing legislations and doing a lot of work on mainly 3 or 4 things that they wanted us to make a terrorist financing risk management framework, which we successfully achieved. They wanted our financial institutions and the regulations on compliance on money laundering and terrorist financing. We have successfully achieved that. They wanted us that on the cross-border movements of negotiable instrument like the bearer bonds or the cash, our customs and our border, our airports and our ports should be compliant on that. We have done a great job on that. We are compliant on that. They further wanted us that there should be a legal framework and there should be a penal action against 1,370 terrorist organizations and individuals that they wanted to do. We have done a major progress in those areas. They
Mhm.
wanted us to have legislation at the federal level, at the provincial level, even at the law enforcement agencies. We have done that. Last but not the least, they wanted us to choke the, the network of all these organizations, uh,
Mhm.
freeze their assets. So more or less, we are compliant on more or less on all these things. That included the legislations that they wanted us to pass through our parliament, which you were asking me. We have also successfully done that. So
Mhm.
we have done our level best, and most of them for the last few months, our prime minister, the finance minister, and the revenue minister, they've been trying their level best at the highest level But at times, Pakistan has a major disagreement with the
Mhm.
processes, the analysis, and the rating recommendations. Because once they tell us to do this, in this framework, once we say that, okay, we have done this, we are compliant, then they say, no, 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 no. We wanted, section A, B, C, D, E, F of this also to be followed. So they are complicating it again and again, but we are trying to be as compliant as possible.
Where do you see the banking sector playing their role in the FATF compliances? And how many laws do you think in the banking sector has implemented this law for, to avoid the money laundering, which we have been hearing almost every day on our TV channels and the news channels, that we are finding different funds from different accounts related to money laundering. The people are taking money illegally from Pakistan to different countries, which is a black money, I would say. To avoid all that, how is the banking sector implementing new laws to make it safe and sound to with their customers daily basis?
So, this was not only particular to Pakistan, that
Hmm.
money from Pakistan was being transferred to the safe havens of Panamas and Cayman Islands and, across the globe, the Switzerlands of the world. This
Hmm.
is a global phenomenon, and every country is doing that. Okay. So, in
Hmm.
the last year or 2 years, you've been hearing a lot about that, but that is in the entire banking sector and the size of the economy that we have, that is peanuts. So that it is happening, but the few cases which are also have a political side, but in the entirety they are peanuts.
Hmm.
So talk about dollar terms, that is almost 0% of what is happening even in this region. So you hear the same about the biggest US banks, the European banks. You must have heard the same about the HSBCs of the world
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
those of the world very soon. And the magnitude is, in multiples, not as simple. So, however, as we have not been complacent. So the key organizations, State Bank of Pakistan, and the SECB, and a few others, the Financial Monitoring Unit of Pakistan, they have done a tremendous job. And in the last couple of years, although Pakistan has always been one of the most well-regulated financial sectors in the world, you hardly see, even if a bank goes down, the State Bank of Pakistan is standing behind that. Not a
Okay.
single developer in Pakistan has ever lost a single penny. Okay?
Hmm.
And we have been really, it's a diversified economy, it's a multicultural economy. So our monitoring systems and the federal banks, the State Bank has done a great job on this. So they have, again, being taking all this proactively and positively, they have further I would say, strengthened the legislations and the regulations. And
Hmm.
you have seen for the last couple of years, they have put huge penalties on almost every bank in Pakistan. They have, I would say, the regulations and the laws have been, been revamped. They are up to date. They are as, I would say, latest as the US laws or better than most of this region. So
Hmm.
I think the State Bank has done a wonderful job. The banks have been compliant and there has been a lot of improvement overall.
Hmm. We have been hearing that Pakistani economy is in a really bad shape. So I think you're the right person to talk about Pakistan's economy by saying, is it Pakistan economy on the right track, or it really needs to work harder to make the economy flourish in future? Where do you see Pakistan's economy? We are
We
different
will be
from
getting
different.
into
We're not accurate on.
that's on the macro level. But before
Mhm.
that, I would like to just conclude on FATF. That
Mhm.
FATF, uh, let's not be very over optimistic. Uh,
Mhm.
while being compliant on 21 out of 27, we
Mhm.
might remain on the grey list because the
Oh,
meetings are starting on the 21st of October and ending on the 23rd. But we will remain on the grey list. And let's be realistic that we do not have any chance to go on the blacklist. Number one, we are trying our level best, but to go into the blacklist, you need to have to stop you going to the blacklist. You need to have at least three countries on your side. If they
okay.
want you cannot go into the blacklist. So China, our
Mhm.
greatest friend,
Yeah.
Turkey and Malaysia, they've
Uh-huh.
always been stopping that. They are always there to stop that.
Okay.
For to become, to get out of this grey list and be a regular one, you need to have 13 votes.
Okay.
There are difficulties. There we need to have a lot of backing from US, but I don't want to get into the Pak-US relationship. We have done great things for them, but when they need to reciprocate, they're always not there for us. So obviously there is a lot of Indian lobbying which is taking place. And because India is a big economy now, as I told you earlier, they have a lot of integrated economic interests with US and other European partners, especially France. So they try their lobby, and they don't, even if we qualify, they just come out with unnecessary things that if somebody, if the courts of Pakistan have given them 18 months punishment, why not 5 years punishment? And if somebody is in jail, which jail, please identify that. So that is,
Mm-hmm.
let's not get into that further. So they are trying their best. We are trying our level best on the other side while being compliant, and we are fighting them on even on lobbying, international lobbying. So even if we remain in the grey list, it doesn't really matter. That's the worst that they could do. We've been surviving with that. We'll keep on doing that. And let's see in the next February meeting or the June meeting, from 21, we might be 25 compliant. So what will they do then? They might come up with another list, but hopefully in the next 6 months to 1 year, we should be out of this.
Nice.
Now
And
coming to the economy, yeah,
yeah.
you have.
Yeah, yeah, please. Can you just answer the same question about the economy? Because we're getting mixed signals from people that the Pakistan economy is in a really bad shape. Where exactly is Pakistan's economy, and where is it standing for normal people to understand the Pakistan is on the right track and they're moving forward with a positive impact on it?
Well, I'll be very frank on this also.
Hmm.
Pakistan economy it has some major issues. Okay,
Okay.
so not only this current government, but in the previous governments also. So
Hmm.
I want to define you the key economic issues that we have. The number one issue is revenue.
Okay.
If we are less on revenue, our expenses are more
Okay.
every. So to bridge more expenses through less revenue, we need to take debt.
Okay.
The second biggest problem is after revenue is the debt.
Hmm.
Third, third is the undocumented economy in Pakistan. As I told you earlier, that Pakistan is the second largest economy of the world.
Hmm.
We have about 280 billion US dollar worth economy GDP size, but it
Okay.
is, and empirically it could be proved that we have almost the same amount, magnitude of economy in the undocumented sector. So that is the third problem that we have. The fourth problem that we have is the state-owned enterprises. Those state-owned enterprises will be called SOEs, like the PIAs, the steel mills, the power generation, the discos, the power-related organizations, who are a drag on the exchequer and who take more, uh, about on average about 600 to 650 billion rupees every year, which is
Nice.
more than equal to our PSDP and more than our probably the welfare, health and education budgets. That is the fourth largest. And the fifth, I would say that is the balanced reallocation of resources. If Pakistan has to go to the next frontier, we really need to invest in our human capital.
Okay.
So, uh, if we can fix the above four, then we will be in a position to invest in our human capital through education, through health, and social health.
Okay.
So, actually, these are the issues. So, these are the fundamentals. Until and unless we have a political will to address them, we cannot, get out of this vicious circle of debt and
Hmm.
the other economic issues that we have. Right now, you must have heard that in 2018 Pakistan was growing at 5.8%. So it has, even before COVID, it came down to about less than 2% of GDP growth. So post COVID, it has gone into minus, negative growth. So there are two aspects to that. One is obviously the way this current PTI government proclaimed that it is the baggage that we are carrying. But frankly speaking, the way I understand economy, it is one, yes, the baggage. Second is that there have been some serious governance issues. The Prime Minister and his team have not been able, probably they never had the
No.
experience running the entire country, or they never really, understood that what are the time bound steps that they need to take. So they have always been catching the curve, may it be going to IMF, may it be uh, any other fiscal or monetary adjustment. So they have taken some, I would say, bad and poor fiscal and monetary decisions in the last few years. So which has further, worsened the situation.
I see.
And the way to get out of it is that we really need to increase our revenue, we need to increase our exports, and we need to create a conducive environment for the people of Pakistan. And not the last, but I think one of the most important factors is to inculcate the saving behavior in Pakistan. You'll
Gotcha.
be surprised that the gross national saving rate of Pakistan is one of the lowest in the world.
Okay.
It is about 6%. As a nation, we save about 6%, whereas in the development world, on average, is saving about 40%. Turkey, if you talk about Turkey, they are saving about 36%. We talk about India, they are saving about 24%. Bangladesh is 22%. So we need to change that.
I
And
see.
last but not the least is the general perception. Economy is 50% numbers, 50% is perception. So
Okay.
this government also need to understand and realize that you can't change things in the course of 2 months or 1 year or 2 years. There is a history since 1947. So
Hmm.
if you talk about NAB, corruption, we put everyone in jail. So it's
Hmm.
not about those political people. It's about the bureaucracy which runs the government machinery. It's about the businessmen. It's about all those people who are, actually running this. So perception has also been very negative. So they need to work on that also.
As a professional banker with a huge amount of experience you're having and you have acquired, can you give a little bit knowledge to our audience that where do we stand in terms of the import and the export, which is for the rolling of the economy of Pakistan? So have we started exporting stuff and importing less, where which we talk about deficit, which we always keep on hearing that it's improving day by day. What do you have to say on that so that people can understand that Pakistan's exports have been growing better from before, and we have started doing less import so that we can make our rupee stronger in the future, longer run.
Again, this again is a slightly technical issue, but in layman's term, I would like to explain that to you. We are an import-based economy.
Okay,
Okay, so a lot of our uh, economic growth and GDP is dependent upon the imports, including our exports.
I see. I see.
We have not been doing the last 3 years of the previous government. The import will really increase,
I see.
but one of the major factors was CPAC, because there
Mm.
was a lot of investment from the Chinese in Pakistan in tune of about 50 billion US dollars. So, and that investment basically happened in the power sector, power generation sector, where we
Mhm.
increased our power generation capacity,
Okay.
and also in the road infrastructure. So there's what these were the two major components. So if you look at the last, previous governments, especially the last 3 years, there was a lot of increase in the plant and machinery side of the imports.
Okay.
But that was in the productive, it was really increasing the productive capacity of the country. That's not bad. But once by in 2018, the imports reached up to almost 58, 59 billion.
Okay.
Exports, we have always been stagnant for the last 7 or 8 years. We reached the highest in probably the PPP government, which was about 25 billion US
Hmm.
dollars export. But today, I think we are 23. So that is
Hmm.
the point that we need to really address. While this current government is really, boasting about it that we have uh, lessened the trade deficit, what you have done is you have made imports so expensive, uh, which is okay as far as the luxury items is concerned, but there are certain necessary items also. So they've reduced the imports.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the exports have slightly reduced but not increased, so your trade deficit has come down. That also comes on the current account deficit side of the economy. So
Okay.
if you look upon the current account deficit, that is a good sign as long as the macroeconomic stability is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
But at what cost? They have done that at the cost of reducing the overall demand of the economy. Okay, by the devaluation, which was, I think, they went really wrong in devaluation. Had they done it in the right way, the dollar should have been about less than 140 today.
Mm-hmm.
They went wrong on the monetary policy. The
Mm-hmm.
interest rates, when the inflation is 7%, why are you increasing the interest rate up to
Okay.
13.5%, 13.25%?
Mm-hmm.
That is how there was a hike in the prices of petroleum prices, of commodity prices, of utility prices. So that all was done as a preemptive to curtail the demand of the economy. So obviously, once you are not doing business as a layman, if you're not doing anything, so you have cash in hand. So that's what has happened. For any emerging market or any emerging economy or any developing economy, 4 to 5% of a fiscal deficit is a good sign.
Okay.
That's how. So last, how can we improve our exports? So as I told you, revenue has to increase. How can you do that? Through taxes, FBR. So FBR needs to be revamped. You need to broaden the tax base, but simultaneously you need to increase your exports. We are
Okay.
doing exports. 24, 23 billion is a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Bangladesh is doing 42 billion. India is doing 300 billion. So what are
Mm-hmm.
we doing? You know? So if we are trying to compete them on the military side, on political side, on the economical side, they are doing really well. Their economies were growing at more than 7%. Even after COVID, probably they'll be growing at 5 to 6%. Whereas I think we will be growing at 1% at the max. So
I
how
see.
can we improve our exports? There are few sectors there where we need to really, sit down. We have had the best plans ever. Even today in the planning commission, even if we take Dr. Mahbubul Haq's plans, which
Mm-hmm.
Korea and Malaysia followed, they are still with us. The problem is on the execution and the political will to do that. Okay, why
Okay.
can't we be a great exporter? You'll be surprised. I'll just talk about agriculture. You were the eighth largest producers of wheat globally.
Okay.
Talk about rice, you were probably the sixth largest producer. Talk about sugar, probably the fourth largest producer. Talk about chickpeas, you were probably fifth or sixth. In the major crops, you are amongst the top 10, always across the globe. You talk
Mm-hmm.
about dairy, fourth. You talk about livestock, fifth across the globe. What are we doing? Have we really thought about it? Why can't we really export through these sectors? Why? There is an argument that we have a large population, but that's not. Have we done anything on value addition? We have done nothing. I'll give you a small example. There is a small country in Europe, Holland. Any guess what is their export?
No idea at the moment.
Holland last year exported 730 billion US dollars.
Oh my God.
Small country, tiny country,
Mm-hmm.
probably less, smaller than any of our four provinces. And out of that 730 billion, 155 billion was only from two agriculture related products, flowers and dairy,
I
true
see.
value. Okay. So from milk, raw milk, they have made, they have done so much value addition in chocolates and cheese and butter and so many other things. So why can't we do that? We are the bread basket of the world. We grow the best vegetables, the best fruits, the best major crops. So, we need to sit back rather than fighting on these petty issues which you see on TV, where the establishment and all these those people, the political parties, those people, the gurus of the financial world, the capital markets,
Mm-hmm.
the large scale manufacturers. These are five, I would say, components of power since 1947.
Mm-hmm.
And there has always been a convergence of interest for these people to stay in power. and 220 million people have always been irrelevant. So they need to sit back rather than going for these infightings. They need to sit today and talk about that. Are we going towards a fiscal failure? If so, how this country will sustain? The only way is to sit back, get out of these petty issues, unproductive issues, who have nothing to do with the common man, and talk about the common person in Pakistan. And then only you can do reforms. Then only you can do things which will be linked with the human capital of Pakistan. Why is that the subcontinent? I'll be unbiased. Why is that the Pakistanis and the Indians are the best doctors, best engineers, best bankers, best entrepreneurs, best philanthropists in this on the globe? So, we need to sit back and do our uh, catharsis and make a medium term and long term strategy for this country to move.
So, are you saying that all the indicators are going to be in the right direction, inshallah, for future, and we can see Pakistan prospering again in the international arena, and with the confidence you can put into Pakistan's economy, that Pakistan will definitely be one of the best countries in upcoming future? Are you saying that?
Absolutely. This is not me only. These are the global reports. You
Uh,
just go on the Google and talk about that. All we need to do is, put our things and put our house in order. And that
mhm.
takes time. It takes 3 months to do that, man. We need to be good on execution. The policies are there. They are there for the last many years. The
Okay.
global, forecasting agencies, you talk about anyone, I just don't want to name that. There are more than a couple of dozens of reports lying on internet which say that Pakistan has the potential to become one of the top 20 economies of the world if we grow at 7% only. We can do that. If we are growing at 5.8%, it will take us 2 years to get back to that growth curve.
Mhm.
So it's not only my assessment, the potential that we have, the resources that we have, the human capital that we have. Pakistan definitely has the potential to be one of you know top emerging economies, and
Mhm.
I'm convinced that by 2030, maximum 2033, we should be the 20th or the 19th or the 20th largest economy of the world. Inshallah.
Inshallah. Before I wrap up our session for today, one positive message and for the confidence building for all the overseas Pakistanis around the world watching this session, what confidence you can give them if they would like to invest in Pakistan and they would like to come back if they have lost their jobs? What positive message you have for all the Pakistanis out there?
I have so many positive messages there. Because I am, it's not about the economy and businesses and jobs and return on your investments only. It's about what Pakistan has to offer. Even
Mhm.
today, I will just starting from my own example. I am into philanthropy for the last 25 years. I've seen the potential of people of Pakistan. All
Mhm.
you need to do is slight hand holding and the right direction that you can give them. These people have a lot of potential. Those poorest of the poorest areas where I go and I work, all I try to do is to provide them with support on education, basic health, and clean drinking water. You will be surprised that the northern areas, those people, the boys and girls of, we call them Pahadis, you know,
Mhm.
small villages where you don't even have a road. It takes 2 to 3 hours to go there. With smallest interventions, those boys and girls are becoming engineers, doctors, bankers, and they are leading and they are integral part of the Pakistani economy.
Uh,
Quality of life that you have in Pakistan. I have had so many opportunities to move to US, to UK, or even the Middle East. At probably at multiples of the salary that I could get. But I know the quality of life that you have in Pakistan, the return not only on investment, the return on the what you invest very little in getting the top quality of life, what you get in Pakistan is unmatched.
Phenomenal.
Lastly, as I told you, it's very, very seldom that you need money in Pakistan. One sector which is always thriving is the real estate sector. You come to Pakistan, put your money in real estate, and you will get multiple capital gains in 2 years to 5 years maximum. Forget about everything else. do whatever. We have one of the best, interest rates or the profit rates from the banks and the savings schemes that we have here. Put your money here. No one has ever lost a single rupee from the banking sector for the last 73 years. And
Yeah.
inshallah, the way things are, there is a political resolve. There are some issues which we will be taking take care in the next, hopefully, a year or so. Once we do
Inshallah.
that, this country has a great potential. CPEC is going through Pakistan, which is the China-Pakistan economic corridor. China has already invested $50 billion. Gwadar port is developing, which will be one of the top five largest ports of the world, and China will be, doing their business imports and exports through Pakistan. So there will be a huge opportunity with Afghanistan stabilizing. We are already working with Central Asian republics, and we are going to Azerbaijan. We are even going to Turkey. This even top economists say that the South, the next 100 years are of the years of global economic growth, and that will predominantly come from Southeast Asia. So
Mm.
we are part of that. Pakistan, Afghanistan, Central Asian republics, Iran, Turkey. We think along with China, and China is backing. I think the next 30 to 50 years are great for this region.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jawad Majid Khan Saab, for being a great guest and educating us and all my followers and our audience around the world about the FATF's impact on Pakistan's economy and the other factors which you have mentioned to give us a little bit the knowledge how we can understand where the Pakistan economy is heading towards for the future. Thank you so much for being a great guest. It was really an honor to have you as my guest today. So I won't let you go before you just give a small shout out for my YouTube channel for your followers can subscribe, share, and like. So a small shout out from a great human being like you, it would be an honor for me.
Love to do that. Just for backlogs.
Thank you so much and
It
take
does-
care
yes.
so much. So everyone, don't forget to press the bell icon and the subscribe button on MacVlogs on the YouTube channel. So keep on helping me, keep on bringing the wonderful people with their stories and their journeys, which we need to learn from and understand and educate ourselves and the people around the world. Thank you so much once again, Jawad Saab. Take care
Take care.
on and keep on spreading all the knowledge around the world, which we really need people like you. Thank you so much once again. Take care and Assalamu alaikum.